Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Poema podcast. I'm James Prescott, your host. Welcome back to the show. Really great to have you all with us again. And we're going back to our on-off pop culture movie stuff series. It's not a series, but episode today. And I'm going to be talking about Project Hail Mary. Well, we are going to be talking about Project Hail Mary. And my guest is back for the 11th time, which I think might be the most of any guest on the podcast. I think it might well be. Jenna DeWitt, welcome back.
Hey, it's so good to be here, James, as always. And I am honored that I might be one of the most frequent guests on this podcast. But we just love talking about pop culture and how it relates to spirituality, grief, and all sorts of human experiences that we really do experience as a
You
society,
do?
as a community. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love doing these episodes with you. And yeah, Project Hail Mary. It's a novel. It's also a movie that came out recently. Uh, there are going to be spoilers if you have not seen the movie or read the book. Uh, there are going to be spoilers today. We're going to be going right into the movie, talking about everything. So if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, uh, go and see it, and then come back and listen to this show. Uh, and if you have seen it, well, welcome. This is going to be fun. And we've both obviously both seen it, and I'm going to see it again in a few days. And yeah, we're keeping the release of this like about 3 weeks out from the movie, so that enough people can have seen it, so they can listen. So, yes, Project Hail Mary. Ryan Gosling was the lead. Basic premise is a man wakes up in a spaceship in interstellar space, light years away from Earth, and remembers that he is a scientist who's been sent on a mission with no return uh, to save the world, basically using science. And he meets an alien called who he names Rocky, who is literally a rock that talks and has personality, and they bond. And yeah, and that's kind of and they kind of try and save their respective worlds together and form a relationship, and it's really emotional. So
Mm,
it's a very I found it a very hopeful movie, um,
absolutely.
and I cried several times, and we'll talk about those times. But what did you think of the movie? What was your first
Oh,
impression of
yeah.
it?
Well, and obviously we're going to give a lot of spoilers here, but my big warning is if people haven't seen it and you're going to see it in a theater, I did get a bit motion sick. There's a lot of flashing lights. There's a lot of swinging around with the camera. It is in space, so you kind of get more of a feeling of that. But the levity and the humor and Ryan Gosling's performance, just the
Mm,
way that they conveyed his personality even through like costume decisions and um, you know like setting and things like that. It's full of good humor and hope and positive feelings. You think about just a guy up in space alone and like way outer space. It's like, well, that doesn't sound very exciting. Like that sounds really depressing. The end of the world is coming and all these things, and everybody else is dead and whatever. That
yeah,
doesn't sound like the kind of movie I would normally go to. But just the addition of this, I called it like a rock crab kind of thing. The
yeah,
book calls
yeah.
him a
That's
spider,
yeah.
but it's like this friend who is like this giant crab made of rocks, sort of.
Yeah, and he has real personality as well. Like he's a yeah,
Exactly. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah, you that this Rocky will make you cry. Like if you remember Guardians of the Galaxy when we started crying about a tree dying, this
Mhm.
is the same kind of like this manages to build a relationship with this kind of creature you'd never expect to have a emotional attachment to and
Yeah.
make you cry, and it's beautiful. So it's called Project Hail Mary because basically it's their last option to save Earth from these things that are in the sun that might be coming to kind of destroy Earth. And the Ryan Gosling's character is called Ryland Grace. So it's Hail Mary, full of grace, which I'm sure is completely coincidental. Like, no,
Mm.
obviously it's not, but yeah, and it's kind of interesting because he's been sleeping on the journey to where he is and wakes up. He's forgotten a lot of things, so he has to spend a lot of time trying to remember. And so he's like discovering himself again, which is a really kind of whole segment of the movie. Like he's just and the movie intersperses itself between his journey up to leaving Earth and what happens in space when he wakes up. So they cut between them really well. So you find out more. You kind of find out more about him as he does, which is really good. Like, but yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not the kind of saving the Earth thing is almost like, to me anyway. It was like it's a big deal, but it's the side thing. The real thing is like him coming to terms with like, oh, I'm probably never going home again. Like, who am I? What am I doing here? And building this relationship with Rocky,
Yeah.
who he meets, and like, and their first conversation is really funny. When he jumps out of him and he goes, ah.
And they mirror each other with the dancing. So
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling's character Grace will like raise his hand, and the Rocky will also like mimic that and raise his hand. So the very basic building block of communication here is like I do something and you can copy it, and we see what each other's abilities are, what our an
Mm.
interaction with the world is like, our joints, how the rock crab thing moves. Um, the star that they're from, this rock crab, manages to communicate through these like little
Mm.
models, basically like little puppet shows and little models that he makes. And
Yeah.
Grace knows enough to understand it's from the star, and he names the rock crab Iridians. So we've got Iridians are now our first contact with aliens, of a conscious, they're sentient in a way that the little microcells are not. That they are
Mm.
trying to go study and research. Both
That's
both of
right.
their planets are affected by this. Both their stars are affected by this. So they're really in the same boat in a very little like spaceship kind of way. But also the communication between them is just fascinating to see. Like, okay,
Mm.
I'm going to put on a little puppet show for you and send you a little model, and they're like, oh, okay, I can get this. And then Grace goes, well, math is the universal language. So here's our clocks. Here's what our numbers look like. And the Iridian can show
Yeah,
him, like, here's what our clock looks like, so
that's right. And they
build
actually
up
show,
little by little.
yeah, and they show like the Iridian version of a clock as well, like what that looks like. And also they show you how Rocky sees the world, like what his vision is like, how his vision works. Like, because it's part of it is about like being raised from a surface. That's part of how his vision works, and you see that. So you do literally get to see it from his perspective. And yeah, they start bonding over this work to save the world,
Mhm.
and then Grace figures out a way that he can interpret whatever his language is into English and gives him a voice. There's this really funny scene where he's trying out different voices, and the funniest one is when they it's when they is it no not getting close Meryl Streep. Meryl
Yes,
Streep.
yeah, they try out Meryl
That's
Streep was
funny. It's
fun.
just so funny because he tries that and he said, and then like Ryan goes, then Grace says like she can do anything, like
Yes, she can do anything.
which is actually true. Like, but I thought I laughed out loud. It's
Yes.
sort of-
Yeah, and, like, inserting little, like, cultural moments or little, like,
yeah,
jokes with the audience kinda thing. That there's some of that that really helps when it's like, everything is going to die, and there's all this science, and here's the formulas on the wall and all the, arcs and ratios and things, and it's like, "Okay, well, I don't know any of the physics behind any of this." There's some really complicated math and theories and things.
Yeah.
But I understand who Meryl Streep is and why it's funny that wow, she can do anything.
Yeah, there's even a moment where he quotes Superman 2 as one of his favorite movies. And he's talking, it's because there's all these like glass, like screens or whatever, like all around. And in Superman 2, like General Zod and the Kryptonian criminals are trapped in this phantom zone, which is a glass mirror kind of thing. And they escape from that, right? So he was referencing that, like, which for me as a Superman fan was really cool. Like anytime you reference a Superman movie, there are quite a few pop culture references in the movie, and the soundtrack as well is really good. Like they use a lot of pop culture music there, and like the four when he sends back the four things to Earth, it's the names of the Beatles. It's
Right.
it's
Yeah. So
Paul,
they
John,
have
and the other two. Like, sorry, my mind's gone completely
yeah.
blank.
Oh no,
Ringo
go ahead. I
and
was just
Phil.
going to explain that
Yeah.
like they're named for the beetles because the drones are like shaped like beetles, kind of like bugs. And
Yes,
so
they
it's like
are. Yes, they
they
are.
named them after like the rock group, the Beatles, John, Paul, Ringo. And it's like, okay, you've got all of
Yeah,
these little bug shaped drones that they're sending out as probes
yeah,
that are self propelling back to Earth. So there's no like human error there. It's just like you've got the data
yeah,
and we're ready and we've got it ready. We know the solution. We have the whole mission is complete. Everything's done. And these drones or probes are specifically being sent so that Earth can be saved and whatever. But the original plan, even from the beginning, is they knew they wouldn't have enough fuel to get home. That they knew it was a suicide mission. They knew the humans were not going to be able to come back. So they put these drone or these I keep saying drones. They put these probes back in their self-propelled, unmanned devices that can fly on their own to get the samples back to Earth to be able
no.
to save it. Um,
And
but
then
then
yeah, and
we
there's this
meet
fight.
Rocky.
Yeah, and then Rocky. Yeah, like and yeah, I mean, there's a character on Earth like the lead scientist who is called Eva, which is funny. Again, there's a kind of little biblical reference there. Eve, you know, that's what I was thinking anyway. Who's brilliantly played by Sandra Hüller, who's like a really good actress. I think she was brilliant in it, and she's the one that's trying to convince Ryan Gosling to go all this way and never come back. But they you see their relationship over the movie, like in obviously like I said, in sync with him being in space. And she's a really important character actually. And at the end, because obviously these four Beatles get back, and she's got them, and she's watching a video that he's made, telling her what he's done and everything like that, and smiling. And obviously
Mhm.
it's a bit later in time because she looks older. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, you're right.
27
And then
years.
yeah, but then you have the movie is really about him. To me, anyway, it's about him and Rocky. Like this kind of how they build this relationship between people from different worlds, like different species, different like just who both come from different directions in spaceships to save their respective planets. And both of them are the only ones left of their crew because the two people with Ryan Gosling's character Grace have died en route. They just didn't make it, and he has to bury them at the start, and that's quite a move. That's actually quite a moving scene because he kind of sends them into space as their burial. Um, and Rocky's lost everyone as well, and and then they start to talk. They start to talk about it, and it's quite a moving scene where they start to actually face up to the reality that they're in. Um, and as they start to build a connection with each other and start to care about each other, uh, and yeah, and that's where you get to kind of the heart of the movie, um, which is really when Rocky gives him some fuel to get home, so he can go home. And then like from this kind of like, and he's had this moment where he said like, "Oh, I've made peace with not going home. I'm okay with it." And then he tells him he can give him the fuel home, and he kind of breaks down. He said, "I wasn't okay. I was pretending." It's a really human moment. Um, and this is a spoiler. Like again, we're just giving away spoilers. Uh, he realizes on the way home that Rocky's spaceship has been poisoned, and he's not going to get
Yeah.
home, and he has to make this choice about going back home or going to see Rocky, and he can't do both. But by that point in the movie, you kind of you know what he's going to do, like because you've been part of this relationship almost. You've been seeing this relationship develop, feeling that bond between them. You have feelings for both of them, like in terms of that you care about what happens to them, and you know he's going to go back, and you know he's going to go back and save him. And there's that beautiful moment where he goes to the spaceship and they do the fist bump, which is
Mhm.
really the fist bump is a whole thing in the movie. Like I don't want to tell it, even say too much on this podcast because it's almost impossible to express in words. It's just a thing. It's an emotional thing, and it's
Very sweet.
yeah, and funny as well at times. The way they talk about the fist bump,
Hmm.
I'll leave that for people to see in the movie. But like, that's so funny. But yeah, and I mean, the end of the movie is him going to live on Rocky's homeworld, and they build this whole thing for him to live, and he's teaching little 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 Rockies, and they said, and he's just got told his spaceship's now ready to go home, and he's like, he doesn't even, and it kind of coincides with him not wanting to go in the first place. No, he doesn't want to go back. Like there's kind of that symmetry. He's like, well, it's not, which tells you what the movie's all about. So that's the kind of story of the movie. Like just to reminisce about that. Like, but for you, was it what was the kind of, because I know you talked about this a little bit and like how you wanted to talk about this. So, what was kind of your spiritual experience watching this movie?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, you've got the obvious religious parallels with the long shot, which we call a Hail Mary, and it's a very American thing in some ways, but I probably British as well. A very English thing is referring to something that just really has it's your last chance. And whether that's a American football play, if you're just throwing it at the last minute, hoping to get it in there, that's a context I'm familiar with, or whether it's spending all of the world's resources and money and everything on an interstellar spaceship with
Yeah,
everybody coming together saying like, hey, if we don't do this, everyone's going to die. If this fails, everyone will die. Like, I mean, there's just no other option. This has to succeed no matter what. So they call it this Hail Mary, which is of course a reference to Jesus's mother and praying to Mary, the Queen of Heaven, for
yes,
please having mercy on us, having grace. And of course, we get Ryland Grace, and this is this guy's last name, and you see his name written on his spacesuit. He's got this, name
right.
tag on this patch, as astronauts do. But I think a really core thing here is this is not a Messiah story in the sense
Mm,
of he doesn't volunteer himself to be a hero. He doesn't step in when he hears there's something wrong and that he is the one who can fix it. There's no Messiah complex in the um, only I can do this because I have the power and I have a duty to do this, the way that our superhero movies do, whether it's, Superman or,
yeah,
Captain Marvel or something. Like they know that they have been burdened with great power comes great responsibility. And as the Spider Man franchise specifically quotes over and over again. And so I think it's really critical that not only is Ryland Grace a window for the audience, like the stand-in for the audience and learning about all these things
he
as he
is.
goes. He's like, "Oh, you do it this way. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, I have to learn it all over again because I had amnesia after coming out of the coma in the spaceship. I don't remember my name. I don't remember anything." And so he's getting these flashbacks of memory throughout, so we're kind of learning along with him. But it's also the stand-in from the audience from a moral and spiritual and just motivational perspective. It would be really hard to be faced with those decisions. So, like in a movie reality, you think, of course, like you have the unique brain and the superpower and the skills and whatever to go save the world and fly off into it and put yourself in danger. But this guy isn't a superhero. He's just like a normal person
Yeah,
and not even a particularly brave person. That even when other people are willing to put themselves on the line and say, I am leaving my family. I'm leaving all of my loved ones behind. because this is how we're going to ensure they have a future, is I
Hmm.
am volunteering myself to die. The sacrificial crucifixion kind of
Yeah,
death.
absolutely. Yeah,
Um, Race does not do that in the movie.
that's not. He
He
does
runs away
almost.
at every opportunity,
Yes.
and even at the very last opportunity, he is physically, like literally running, like running at full speed, and has to be tackled to the ground and stuck with a needle. And like, where are you gonna go? Like, you're at a secure facility with a barbed wire fence. It's like, what are you
Yeah.
gonna
There's
do,
no,
guy? But like,
there's no escape. Like, yeah.
his fear is what controls him at that point. When he's still on Earth, he is just the most fearful person. He doesn't even have anybody to stay for. It's not like it's a decision between like, oh, I can stay with my daughter, or I can, give my life for her or something. Like, it's not that. It's just that he selfishly does not want to volunteer and is scared and is really,
Yeah,
really,
exactly. It's
really driven by that fear.
literally the
Whereas then
opposite,
you
isn't
see
it?
that,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
yeah.
like, and then, but the thing is, as well, like, and I see this more now. I've seen the whole thing. Like, but then I think, like, but then, like, I don't know if this happened at the same time in the movie,
Hmm.
but like, there's this moment where he has to decide whether to go back and rescue Rocky and save him,
Exactly. Yeah.
or he goes back to Earth. And he didn't want to go out into space in the first place. And
Right.
now he's got a chance to go back where he wanted to be in the first place, and he chooses not to do that. Like, and not out of wanting to be a hero, not out of wanting to be like get everyone to love him, but because he cares about this person, he wants to save them. Like, because and he wants to save his people as well, because if he dies, then his whole planet gets wiped out as well. Like, it's just, so he's I mean, like, he's the most reluctant hero ever, but he ends up helping to save two planets. Like, and he doesn't even bask in it. He doesn't glory in it. He's still the same guy at the end of the movie. Like, I mean, he's obviously changed, but he's still as humble and quiet and as he was before. Uh, he hasn't grown an ego through what he's done. He doesn't even think he's brave.
Right.
He just thinks he's done the right thing. Uh, like, he wants to help his friend, like, and that's a beautiful thing. And that's why it's a hopeful movie. Um, but there is something, yeah. I mean, there is something in there that's very different from a lot of hero stories. And there's nothing wrong with good hero stories, like people who want to be heroes. Those are completely valid stories. But
Mhm.
there's something quite powerful about a human being, a regular human being, who would rather the world ends than go into space. Like, doesn't care about saving the world, just cares about getting away from going into space, and ending up being the person that kind of ends up helping to save two planets.
Mhm.
uh, and none of his own people will ever know that he did it. Like, and he'll never get recognition for it, and he's not even looking for recognition for it, but he's just uh, but in the process, he meets a he meets someone, and becomes close friends with them, and they form a really close friendship. Yeah, it's kind of a,
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, and the fact that he's called Grace, of course, um, is quite powerful. That he's the Grace is the one that is piloting the Hail Mary. And yeah, yeah.
Well, and that's important for the definition of like what grace is. So, like grace, the concept. I'm Methodist. We're very big into grace. That's our
I'm,
whole thing.
I've
So,
got Methodist background too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so you've got the prevenient grace that like leads you to doing the right thing even before you know
Mm.
it's right. And then of course the saving grace and the sanctification, this grace that kind of carries you through into growth and asking these questions and being able to go farther than you ever thought you could on your own. Um, and I think we see that the grace moment, this intense life changing decision, the thing it all pivots around of who is this man going to be. In the book, here's just the paragraph of the book. It says, I can go home. I really can. I can return and spend the rest of my life as a hero. statues, parades, etc., and all be in a new world order where all energy problems are solved. Cheap, easy, renewable energy everywhere thanks to astrophage. I can track down the people in charge and then, you know, but the cost of that is Rocky dies. And Rocky's people die, billions of them.
Mm.
So he's like, well, I can survive 4 years and stay alive and go back to Earth. Or launch the probes, they go on their way, the Earth is saved, the scientists will handle that. I don't have to worry about that. What I have to worry about is turning the ship around, finding my friend, and taking him to his home. But of course, it means I will die.
Mm.
So that's, it's the
Yeah.
decision point of actually,
And
I'm not the one who needs the glory. And even though he was shamed out of academia, like he came up with this theory that ended up not being true, but he decided I will just become a middle school teacher, and he was actually really good at it. He was really
he
good at
was,
teaching middle school
he was,
science.
he
It's
was,
actually
yeah.
really great.
And he
But
enjoys
I,
being a teacher as well. I mean, like,
yeah, yeah, he's
that's what
really
he's
good.
doing at the end of the movie is teaching, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, like that, they didn't touch on that in the book. The bit about it's not in the book, in the movie. Sorry, the kind of the idea that, oh, if I go home, I'm going to be a hero. Everyone's going to love me. I'm going to get statues. I'm never going to have to worry about working again. Everyone's going to respect me. Like, I'm going to be really popular. Like,
hmm,
my life is sorted, and like, um, but he doesn't care about that.
right, yeah,
He just wants to help his friend. And even when they said to him at the end of the movie, like, "Oh, your ship's ready to go back to Earth now," like, as in they fueled it up and everything, it's fixed it, whatever. Uh, like, he's not running to, he's not rushing away. He doesn't rush away. He
right.
barely even considers it. He just gets on with what he's doing because he
He's
likes
like,
what he's
well,
doing.
I'll stay around a
Uh,
little longer. Like he doesn't rule out going back, of course, but he's like,
well,
well,
he might
I'd
go back.
rather spend some time with you.
He's not in a rush to get back. Like, he's,
Right, right. Yeah.
you know,
It's
yeah,
it's really the difference I think between being motivated by shame and honor versus being motivated by authenticity and connection and belonging. And so when you're motivated by shame is like seeing that like, oh, all these people said I'm wrong and I'm going to tell them to stick it, and then kind of having that like vengeance mentality of like I'm going to show you. That's still
yeah,
working out of shame. That's still working out of that
yeah,
need to prove yourself and the insecurity even after you've claimed victory over it. And then it's like,
yeah,
but working out of a like, you know what? They got it. I don't have to prove anything. I did my duty. I did my job. Um, the earth is saved, and now I can go worry about the people that my values are connected to saving. If I've got this thing that only I can do, I can make a brave choice and do this instead. The brave choice was not necessarily coming back and being celebrated as brave. The brave
mm,
choice was choosing to do what was right, even if no one is going to know about it, even if his legacy is never going to be known, the full story won't ever get told. All they'll have is the probes. But
mm,
that's okay because it wasn't really about him getting, that satisfaction over the scientific community or over the world or history or whatever.
mm.
It, it was always going to be about making sure everyone in the universe, all living life forms, have a future.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, and I think a lot of people will resonate with that journey of coming out of of shame, where, like, I mean, especially, like, I mean, it reminded me a little bit of me in that, like, I was bullied at school. I had a traumatic childhood.
Mhm.
I lost my mother, and for a lot of my 20s, I wanted to prove all those people wrong and say, hey, look at me, I'm great. Like, look what I've done. I proved you all wrong. I'm now better than you. Like, I was immature. I
Mhm.
was in my 20s. Uh, but life.
Thank
Thank God for therapy and spiritual direction and healing
Yeah,
and maturity and, like, time.
yeah.
Because now I don't care
Me too.
about any of that. Like, I don't care. Like, if I write another book, I'm not going to tell anyone about it, unless apart from the people apart from my friends. You know,
Just for fun. Just for yourself.
Or I might just release it out of nowhere without telling anyone it's coming out. Like,
Hmm.
because it's
Yeah.
fun to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. Like, I never did, but now I know I don't have to. And it's, yeah, so that journey will probably, I'm sure that I'm not the only person who's been on that journey as well. So,
Hmm.
like if when you've been hurt, like if you don't deal with it, then that can turn into that what you're
Hmm.
talking about, that kind of vengeance and like I want to prove you wrong and I want to hurt the people that hurt me. But then maturity is learning that actually doesn't change anything. It just makes it worse,
Hmm.
and you
Yeah.
get hurt as well in the process of that, as well as other people. It's actually part of in the Batman. Like the movie, at the start of the movie, he calls himself Vengeance, but by the end of the movie, he's realizing that vengeance doesn't work, and that's not how to solve problems, and that because he gets confronted with it, um, and yeah, he turns into a like somebody who's inspiring people, and people have hope because of him. Like so, he goes on the same journey in that movie as Grace goes on in this movie, just obviously a different way, different character. But so that's a common story. But
Hmm.
um, I think what's powerful about it is that he's so reluctant and so
Hmm.
afraid, and he's very human in that because like I think most people's reaction to, oh, we're sending you into space and you're never coming back ever, like, uh, especially when you find out like the day before it's going to happen, would be yeah, I would be terrified. I would run away. I would want to get out of it, like because I don't want to leave my loved ones. And he didn't even have any loved ones to go back to. He didn't have his parents aren't around. He didn't have a partner or children or anything. And he was still just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Like
For
he's like,
himself. Yeah.
yeah.
Which I
And that,
get.
but that doesn't make him a bad person. It just makes him human.
Hmm.
Like it's
Exactly.
because normally in those kind of stories, you expect the guy, especially if it's a white male, to like say, "Oh yes, I'll be the hero.
Hmm.
I'll sacrifice myself for the good of everybody else. Don't worry about me. I'll be all right." Like, he doesn't do that. Like he
Well,
doesn't have any shame about being afraid, which is
yeah.
healthy. Again, it's healthy to that's part of being human.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of, bringing the spiritual into it is like the stories in the Bible about like Moses going like, I can't go. I have a stutter. I'm not impressive. I'm nobody. Like, and then, the
Yes.
burning bush being like, I have made you somebody. Like you are given this opportunity and you're the only person who can do it. And I am sending you whether you want to go or not. And then same with Jonah of like, obviously Jonah, like
Yes.
getting swallowed by a whale and getting spit up right where he was supposed to be when he was running. Like he literally was sailing in the opposite direction. And it's like God to be like, nope, I'm gonna drop you right where I need you. And so it's just amazing how, yes, of course, any other circumstance, I would say what Petrova did with like sedating him and putting him in an involuntary coma, that is not good. Like no,
Yeah.
no other
That's
circumstance would that be excusable. That's
Forcing
villain
someone
behavior,
to go into
except
to go and
under
die in
these.
space is not normal or good. Like
Right,
that's not
right.
something we should all do. That's not something we
Right.
should model. Like no.
Not a good solution. Most movies would not have that be the that's a good guy. But she says right before it becomes clear that's what's about to happen, this is going to feel like a betrayal, but it's actually my belief in you, like that you can't
Mm,
have yet. Like that he is so insecure and so fearful that she's like, I can see something in you that you can't access, and so this is going to feel like I'm betraying you in the moment, but what it's actually happening is growing you and making a future possible for the rest of us as well as for yourself. And being able to see that potential in him, I think, is a really strong sign of tough love. Of that,
mm,
not allowing yourself to be like, not allowing someone you love to be like held back by their fears and insecurities. And
mm,
of course, they were in a really desperate circumstance in that specific time. But I think that, that can sometimes happen with God too, of that, like, I want something to happen that would be comfortable and easy. And I will train the people who are going to go out and do it. And those heroic people can go be on the front lines. Like, I'll just, for me, it's like, I will edit your documents, I will edit your book, I will edit your articles, and you put it out on the internet under your name and get all the hate mail for it. And I didn't have to do anything but just say, hey, it's clean. It's all I got. I made sure everything was good and I sent it on the way. And it's not my name necessarily out there getting hate mail and that sort of thing. But
Mm. Yeah.
I think that that is such a relatable thing of, yeah, I'm qualified to teach, but I'm not actually going to go do this myself. My God. And then being forced into a position because of a very tragic loss of the scientist team. He was now sent as the third crew member. There was a pilot, a captain, and there was an engineer, and then there was a scientist. And that had to be him because he was the only one in that launch window amount of time that already knew what to do and what was going on.
Mm.
And Petrova knew that. Like, the person in charge said, absolutely, it has to be you. But I think God can be like that in some ways of like, it feels like a betrayal. It feels like, God, I thought you called me to this. I thought this was what you wanted. I thought I did what you asked. And it's like, this is
Mm.
going to feel like a betrayal by experiencing this. But like, in the end, you're going to see how this closed door was actually a saving grace all along of like, oh my gosh, now a year later, I'm seeing trouble at that company, at that job I didn't get. And so glad I am not in the middle of all of that drama and BS. And it's like, oh wow, that was so close.
Yeah, and the thing is, Eva is right about him. Like, probably he probably even exceeds her expectations actually,
Mhm.
because he not
Absolutely.
only he figured out who he is,
Mhm.
then he figures out all the science, then he builds a relationship with an alien,
Mhm.
and they and doesn't isn't hostile to it, isn't doesn't assume the worst like a lot of people do about aliens, builds a healthy relationship with him and works with him like to save both their worlds, and like and ends up and he grows as a result of that as well. He does things that maybe he didn't realize he was capable of doing.
Mhm.
Like, there is this whole thing in life where you're sometimes thrown into situations that you didn't want, and you just have to like sink or swim, and I've had that happen to me. uh, and yeah, that's not easy. That's not easy, but you grow through it and you learn through it. And like, I mean, it's like suffering. We don't choose to suffer. We don't choose to lose loved ones. We don't choose uh, illness. We don't choose like a pandemic. We don't choose to lose our jobs sometimes. Like, we don't like, and but those things can happen, and then we've got to
Mhm.
suddenly learn how to deal with it. And that's part of life. And this is just the same thing on a bigger scale, uh, and he kind of just he does. I hate that what the term "find yourself," but he figures out who he is and what he's capable of, and starts believing in himself. Because when he leaves there, he doesn't believe in himself at all. He doesn't think he's capable of doing that stuff. Like, uh, but when he's at the end of the movie, he he looks content in himself because he knows who he is. He knows what he's capable of, uh, and like that he can do good things and he can achieve things and help people.
Mhm.
And so he goes back to teaching. Even he goes back to teaching, and he's like, because actually that's what he loves to do. Like, in the end,
I
um,
think that
yeah.
teacher mindset is so vital, and I'm going to go a couple different directions with this, so stick with me. But I think of it and is a very large, of course, overextended metaphor for faith deconstruction too, or just any deconstruction of when you find out the history or the science or the religion or whatever you were taught is wrong. When you've made wrong claims before and put your neck out there for it, and it turns out that it wasn't true, and having that resilience and shame
Mm.
resilience, especially to be able to bounce back and say, like, you know what, like, yeah, I was wrong, but I'm still going to keep committing to my work to do every day. And here's what I do know. So I do know enough to be able to teach middle school science and to see their joy and to see them, understand and comprehend every day. And having that capability to say, well, I can build myself back up So I may have even forgotten my own name, but there's that teacher gene, that learner, that educator inside of him going like, well, here's what I do know. So I can build on the blocks of communication I have with this alien life form. I can build on the blocks of what memories I'm getting piece by piece. I can kind of take this science that I know, like here's how infrared works, here's how biology works, here's microbes, and what would I do if I were this little cell? What would I do if I were a rock person who communicates with sonar? What would I do? Like, how would I think of this if this were my atmosphere? And so being
Yeah.
able to have that cognitive flexibility, that imagination to be able to
Mm,
think through how to explain things to somebody or how to then comprehend new topics yourself, that is so much more vital than having an expert scientist come in who is already strong, who is already confident, who
mm,
knows what they're doing, but isn't in the position of um, often having to build from two plus two is four, like having to come up with ways to understand other people and ways to communicate ideas to them, or the opposite of being able to take in new information that is literally unprecedented. Like there is no textbooks for this, and no one's telling you here's how to interpret this Iridian language. No one's telling you like here's a course on this. He just has to kind of invent the science as he's encountering it, and that ability to do that is a far, far greater genius, I think, that intuition, than just memorizing a bunch of facts or having trivia or being able to, get a textbook ingested into your brain, because it's not always going to be explained to you or written out ahead of time. If you're on the
no.
pioneer forefront of a faith movement, of a political movement, of a science movement, of anything, you're going to have to invent the thing as you go along. And so being able to adapt to those circumstances while also relying on what knowledge you do have, your experience, your logic, really solid logic based, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mm,
And to bring it back to our like superhero kind of thing, I think it's a difference between Captain America and US Agent. And so in the Marvel universe, you've got this scrawny little Steve Rogers who had to learn to fight smartly, like by logic. And so he's
mm.
using his opponent against him. He's
Yeah.
moving in ways that are more intelligent and analytical than somebody who's strong enough from a young age to just go punch somebody out. Like that guy doesn't have to think. Like he didn't have to like
Exactly.
come up with logical battle strategies. He just
Yeah.
goes and he accomplishes a goal, claims victory, wins, and
Yeah.
moves on.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
having that character inside somebody even before they are given the opportunity to be brave and save the world and have superpowers or
Mm,
not, or have a superhuman brain, like all these things that we encounter when we enter the sci-fi universes.
indeed. Yeah.
Like that's the character that matters. It's having that foundation there, that attitude of being able to hold multiple truths and being able to discard the knowledge you once had and say,
Mm.
oh, that was wrong, actually. Moving on. Like, let me build off of what I do know and pivot and be
Yeah.
able to change my mind.
That's a very human thing in that, like, humans are very creative, very imaginative, very innovative, and have good survival skills, right? And like, if
Mhm.
you're thrown into a situation and you're forced to do something to survive, figure out, like, humans are quite ingenious at that and figuring things out. Even people who are not trained to do that kind of thing, like if you've got a bit, if you're, if you're intelligent and you've got a bit of imagination, like most humans have, and you can often figure things out. Like you can, which you didn't even realize you could do, because because you're just adapting to survive, right? And him, that's part of being human. And like you're right. I mean, I love that metaphor about
Yeah.
Steve Rogers, because you're right. He teaches himself how to fight
Mhm.
with his mind, like when he's too small to fight physically, like and. Uh, and he also has the character already. There's that scene in the first Captain America movie where Tommy Lee Jones's character gets the grenade and throws it, and all of the others, all the big guys, the strong guys, they all jump, they all go, they just try to run away from it. Steve jumps on top of it, like to take the force of the blast himself. Like so, he just instinctively sacrifices himself. And it turns out it's not a real grenade, obviously, so it doesn't explode. But uh, but then the scientist who's always believed in him, like, just smiles because he knew he had that in him already, and that's always been who he is, and that's why he's chosen to be Captain America and to get the serum is because of his character and his heart and his mind as well, and that's what makes him Captain America, not the serum. The serum just makes him physically stronger. But like who he is it's the same with Superman. It's not his powers that make him who he is. It's his character. It's his values. It's how he treats people. It's how he believes in people and how he sees the world. The powers are just a kind of just this kind of side dressing in a way, like that's. But he uses his powers for good instead of a lot of white men use their power for bad. A lot of powerful white men use that power to hurt people, whereas he doesn't do that. And that's the same with Steve Rogers. And it's and Grace in this movie, like he doesn't think he can do anything at the start. Like he doesn't believe in himself at all, even though he's a smart guy. He's a scientist, like and he's a teacher, which is a really important skill. We need teachers, but he doesn't believe in himself. He doesn't think he has any value. And by the end of the movie, I think he just realizes that he does, but he's still humble because he's had to learn that. Um, And we know he doesn't have an ego because he doesn't choose to go back to Earth. He chooses to go and save his friend.
Well, I just think it's so countercultural. Like even within the movie universe, Petrova's like, yeah, well, we have 30 years if everybody gets along, like if everyone communicates, if all of the world suddenly puts aside all their differences
Yeah,
and decides to cooperate with each other. And it's like, we know that's not going to happen. Like we all know that that hope is unrealistic, that
yeah.
everyone's going to be out for themselves. And that's kind of our era too. I see, especially in politics, but also in every social issue, every, you know, the Facebook posts or whatever, the biggest bully wins. And if you're not playing the greed game, you're a loser and deserve to suffer, maybe
Hmm.
even die. And the majority, the powerful, the privileged, the wealthy, these are people who get to make decisions. They've earned the right to be heard and protected and represented, and they don't want to come together to save everyone
Hmm.
from climate change, which is a very real threat we're
Hmm.
really facing in reality.
Yes.
They actively exploit it, even like they're defunding research to stop it because it's going to profit them if they're going to sell the fake solutions. There's temporary,
Yeah.
band-aids on things. It's not just selfishness from fear, like cowardliness. It's not running away from being a hero. It's like actual use of scarcity and propaganda and lies and manipulation, to get ahead using other people, even if the victims pay for it with their lives,
Mm.
even if it
Yeah.
raises the toll, even if it harms the earth itself and
Hmm.
speeds up climate change.
Yeah.
So, my hope, my hope as we end this is maybe this movie and Ryan Gosling's adorably dorky performance can leave the audience like with a little deeper message than simply being in a space movie that's, you know, more real, more human in some ways, with some hope,
Mm.
some levity. Well done, alien creature. It's pretty good.
Mm.
But that the deeper hope is that audiences can internalize this grace for themselves. The
Mm.
saving grace, the prevenient grace that was here all along, but also the grace that carries us through all of these struggles, through the crisis, through the planet ending, terrible thing that we see, through the, national crises, through all of these people
Mm.
being killed, all the violence and suffering unnecessarily. Um, Maybe it'll help us grow to be better people one by one by
Mm.
one. Every decision that we make, we would make the brave choice. We'd make the loving choice, the choice of grace instead of the choice
Mm.
of selfishness and fear and scarcity. Um,
Yeah.
Even when all we have left is one last desperate hope, the Hail
Yeah.
Mary.
I, well, like it's about the importance of connection, relationship,
Yeah.
like love. A kind of love. not romantic love, but that that ultimately we all need each other. We all need
Hmm.
people. We need relationship. We need healthy relationships, friendships, partners, family. Friends. We need that as human beings, and to for a human being to bond with a an alien uh, who looks like a rock, and for that to mean something, and for us to cry about that relationship and cry about what might happen to this alien, and like that. I mean, that's a testament to the filmmaking and the directing and the acting and everything that's involved with making that movie. But it's I think that shows us the importance of love and connection, and and being community together, and not being selfish, not just
Hmm.
doing things for ourselves, but doing it for each other. And sometimes it's not about saving the world, it's about saving one person. Like because he's not thinking about the whole of I don't think he's necessarily automatically thinking about the whole of Rocky's planet when he goes back to save him. He's thinking about his friend, and he wants to save him. And Because he cares about him, and because that's important. And
Yeah.
and so that's kind of one of the things that I take for this movie, and that we all have it in us to be good and selfless and kind, uh, and and we're probably all more capable of more than we think we are. Um, and sometimes even if life throws us into different circumstances that we didn't choose or we didn't plan for, we can still get through and grow and heal and become better people. Uh, yeah. So Project Hail Mary, it's a great movie. It's already one of my favorite movies of the year. Ryan Gosling is just incredible. I love Ryan. I mean, I love Ryan Gosling and everything, but I think this is one of his best performances. And yeah, so please do go and see it. And I hope this has been really helpful for you when you watch it the next time, because
Yeah.
you'll really want to watch it again. Uh, uh, and Thank you, Jenna, for coming on
Hmm.
and sharing. It's been really great again.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think hope in a time of despair is a really important topic right now.
Absolutely. I agree completely. Yeah, we need more hopeful movies. Yeah, hopefully we'll get some more this year as well. But yes, Project Hail Mary, check it out. Highly recommend it. And yeah, thank you, Jenna. And thank you for listening, everyone. Oh, and one more thing. Jenna, where can people find your work?
Yeah. You can find my work mainly on my website is invisiblecakesociety.com. I also have a Substack of the same name if that's easier for you. I also post on Threads, on Blue Sky, and a little on Instagram as Jenna DeWitt. So it's just my name, nothing fancy about that. So find me
Hmm.
on all of these places: Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, Substack, and
Definitely connect with Jenna. I highly recommend
invisiblecakesociety.com.
Invisible Cake Society. I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
just love that name so much.
Yeah,
Uh,
isn't it fun?
and Jenna's created so much great stuff. I really do recommend checking it out. So thanks, Jenna. And thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.